chance to go back there.
Anna Foster, live for us there in Beirut. Thanks for now. We will talk again later on in our programme. Let's talk now from Tel Aviv to Miri, who is a former IDF colonel and director of the International Institute for Counter-Terrorism. Thank you so much for joining us here on BBC News. When there is a universal call to de-escalate, why has Israel chosen to escalate this conflict so markedly?
Israel is trying to arrive at a situation that Hezbollah, that doesn't have thousands of rockets, it has tens of thousands, 150,000 rockets in a different type of platforms that they've been using against Israel in the last 11 months every single day. We're trying to get to a situation where we can tell the almost 70,000 Israelis who live up north in Israel near the Lebanese border that they can go home. In the last 11 months, they can't go home. Their houses have been bombarded directly with every type of missile that you can think of. And in that sense, what we're trying to do, and it isn't happy, it isn't easy, war never is. It's the innocents on all sides. But what Israel is trying to do is to enable a situation that Hezbollah is not the one on the initiative, that Hezbollah is the one in defense, that we are pushing them to a place where they'll move out of those areas. 560
dead. Do you share the view of what the defence minister said today, that the strikes have been, quote, a masterpiece?
When we talk about targeted killings, it's going to be a question every single time. What do you do with a terrorist that on purpose hides himself in the middle of the civilian area? Because what you're doing is turning the civilian area into that safe place. You don't want a safe place for terrorists. And Israel has not done attacks like this for so many years because of the results. For a moment, I'm not happy about it. This isn't joy in Israel. And when we say precision targeting, you're absolutely right. It doesn't look nice. It's not surgical in that sense.
Well,
but on the other
let me ask you about exactly that phrase that you keep using, because at least 50 children have been killed since yesterday, 100 women. Israel keeps using that phrase, targeted strikes. It doesn't sound that targeted.
My heart goes out to every single one of the women, the children, the uninvolved. I live here, and in that sense, it's as if it's a tit for tat. Israelis haven't been killed, Lebanese have been killed. I live in a country that has invested very heavily because of these different challenges in protecting our civilians. We have 1.5 million civilians today who are inside safe rooms that are being targeted, the civilians.
Sure, but you're using in Lebanon.
We haven't had casualties because we built safe rooms.
Sure, but you're using tactics in Lebanon, the same tactics used in Gaza, going after Hezbollah, going after Hamas, but quite prepared to kill large numbers of civilians.
No, we are targeting the terrorists. We are never targeting the civilians. And the way you present it is that what we're trying to do is kill civilians, which is what Hezbollah
You have a duty
and Hamas
to
try
protect
and do.
civilians.
You're absolutely
despite trying to go after these fighters, you do also have an obligation to protect civilians, don't you?
And we do so, sir. We give early warning. We tell them to leave. No militaries do so. And you're absolutely right that at the end, civilians get killed, and that hurts, and we want this to end. But I don't think that ending it in a way where Hezbollah, the terror organization, hiding behind the civilians, is the one that right now gets any kind of backing, not by you in England or in the BBC or anywhere. This has been a challenge for so many years. And when we do the targeting killing, and you're right, there are civilians that are killed. At the end, the idea is to get to these harsh elements that are bad for the world. They're bad for Lebanon. They're bad for us civilians.
Sure.
And my heart go out to every civilian.
You keep saying you want to end this, but you're escalating the situation to try to end up de-escalating. That's a sort of intellectual somersault that doesn't seem to make sense.
So in the context, Israel did not start a war the day before yesterday when we started these targeted attacks very extensively in Lebanon. Hamas started a war on October 7th, and Hezbollah, that same Hezbollah we're attacking right now, which is deployed in all of the different areas down south in Lebanon, they were practicing to do the same kind of October 7th attack. So, sir, I'm going to ask you, what do you want to do against the terrorists? Do you want to allow them to hide behind the civilians? My heart goes out. I'm never going to target a civilian. But when the terrorist is there and I tell the people to leave, I give them early warning, I'm doing my best. I understand greatly how much this feels, but don't put it into a context.
Let me ask you a separate question there, because you've made that point several times. You are degrading the infrastructure of Hezbollah, you're hitting weapons, you're certainly taking out key figures. But do you not share the analysis that many military analysts have been voicing over the last couple of days, that you cannot win this from the air, and the next stage looks like this is a prelude to a ground invasion? Is that what's coming?
Sadly, I agree with those military analysts, because at the end of the day, the Radwan attack forces that are on the ground of Hezbollah, who are being attacked now also, still exist in southern Lebanon. It's the civilians who are fleeing north because they are innocent. And those Radwan forces, if they're not dislodged,
so you think a ground war is coming?
I do think that that is a possibility.
And it doesn't matter that Joe Biden, yet again, has talked about de-escalating the situation in the region. They've said that for months, and yet we're seeing moves by Benjamin Netanyahu to add war aims, to take these new strikes directly to Lebanon. You don't think that is moving in the opposite direction, with all the worries of an all-out war in the region?
I'm a civilian in Israel. I'm not the prime minister, and I go to protest against this prime minister every single week. And I think that by putting that together, what you're saying is that we're all Prime Minister Netanyahu. I support the fact that the 70,000 friends that I have that live up north and have not been in their houses, that are being destroyed by Hezbollah, in the last 11 months they haven't been home, that we need to change the factor. Hezbollah is not doing this to help out the Hamas and the Gaza Strip. They're not helping any Palestinians. They're attacking Israelis because they want to destroy Israel. And there is no other way that I know that Hezbollah talks that will be able to dislodge them, sadly, except for this type of attack. I say it very sadly. If you know how to do it otherwise, I'd be happy to hear. They don't respond to diplomacy. They grow stronger with their terror tactics.
Miri, we have to leave it there, but thank you for joining us here on BBC News. Let's continue with this, because as I was saying there, we heard from Joe Biden at the United Nations talking about, decades of international policy, what the UN has delivered over the years and the challenges that they currently face, and touching